for entertainment purposes only. And if you want true legal advice, contact your own lawyer.
Go ahead and put the seatbelt on, because we're really going to start taking off now. This is going to be probably, I would say, the second hour here. This hour of Radio Law Talk is going to be a little bit more case intensive and stuff. But we do start off with the familiar, with the ritual that is known as Case or No Case.
Now it's time to play Case or No Case.
Yay!
All right, Case or No Case works this way. I try to come up with a scenario that is either true or false and has either a court outcome or not. I present the scenario, and our attorneys try to figure out, A, if it's true, and if so, what the outcome would be. And that is how Case or No Case is played. By the way, they get points and special prizes, including, I think, a Rolex watch this time. Oh,
yes.
Wait, no, Fred's not here today. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's not it's a Rolex watch. It looks a lot like, but made from inferior.
Folex.
Yeah, a Folex, yeah. That's what it is.
Folex.
Where'd you get it? Well, I got it at the...
There's a guy on the street.
One of those, it was at a carnival, and, if I filled the balloon with the squirt gun...
$15, man, $15. Frank Benedetti. Frank Benedetti, in December of 2013, was working on an oil rig near El Reno, Oklahoma. Now, steam comes up out of the ground in these oil rigs, and on the steps of the oil rig, it formed some ice. So he falls about 37 feet down a stairwell, suffering some severe and permanent injuries from the fall, he claims. His family looked over Oklahoma law and then wondered if they might get compensated for Mr. Benedetti's injuries. They went to the company, who offered a token amount and then offered some legal advice. There's no use in your suing, they said. Haven't you read the law? No use. So, did they sue? And if so, what was the result? Todd Cunin, tell me about the case of the slipping Benedetti.
The slipping Benedetti on an oil rig of sorts. Now, this was not sea-based, land-based, obviously. I don't think
it was in Oklahoma. So.
Yes. Last time I checked geography, there are no oceans that border Oklahoma, barring a tsunami. So let me ask you a question here. Who did they go to that said, didn't you read the law?
The company.
They went to the company that he worked for?
Yeah, the company for which Mr. Benedetti was working, and they said, Lord, don't you know the law in Oklahoma? There's no sense in suing. Here, take this money and leave us alone.
Okay, well, I think that presents an interesting set of facts, and I'm going to say, I'll go out on a limb, I'm going to say this is a case, okay? And I'm going to also say that Mr. Benedetti prevails. But one of the causes of action that causes him to prevail is a theory that was brought up that the company was practicing law without a license. Because he went to them with a specific legal question, okay? And if he talked to non-lawyers, I mean, obviously this is a company, it's not a law firm, not a corporation. And they questioned him about the law. They purported to give him legal advice, telling him that the law was not on his side. And they gave him advice based upon their legal advice. They gave him a suggested outcome based on their legal advice that he should take the money and leave. And I think that works whether it was non-lawyers that talked to him. Let's say the corporate counsel talked to him about it, made it sound official. Well, that kind of gets back to an issue that we handled earlier, which is the conflict of interest. Corporate counsel representing the company can't advise the person who may potentially sue them. You got a problem if you're an attorney. So I say it's a case, and Mr. Benedetti wins.
All right, Mr. Ramey, what say you? Is this a case or no case?
I say it's a case. I am going to also say that that he prevailed. Slightly different than as opposed to, I mean, I believe it was legal advice, and I think what Todd talked about applies. I think that one of the ways that he's going to prevail is some fraud in the inducement of whether they were correct in saying, well, hey, haven't you read the law, and whether that was truthful or not. And I think that he's going to be able to prevail because he may have relied on that, and that may have been inaccurate. And so I think that he'd be able to prevail under that theory.
Two fascinating legal theories on Case or No Case.
You know, it occurs to me also. We got a little bit of time.
Remember,
here.
This is in Oklahoma now.
Okay.
It's just really important that it's in Oklahoma.
This is where he gets you. It's in Oklahoma, and
as if they don't believe in law. In Oklahoma.
They believe in oil in Oklahoma. So I'm just putting that out there. This is a critical thing. Now Will's going, oh man, it got me.
Yeah. Let's assume though. Let's assume, just for the sake of arguments, that it was a corporate attorney, an attorney that represented the company that advised him. And let's say, for the sake of arguments, that anybody looking at it would be deemed that, look, you held yourself as an attorney, you were representing him. What is the remedy? What is the obligation of the corporate attorney or any attorney that gives advice once they realize they have a conflict of interest and that they've given advice to two parties on opposite sides of the case? Do they stick with their original client and dump the new one? Do they dump the old client and stick with it? What's the remedy there? Do you know?
Well, my question is this. When someone comes in to talk to the corporate attorney, does not the corporate attorney represent the corporation at that juncture? Is he not representing them?
They do. They do.
Will, help me out. You've got this puzzle.
Well, I think a disclaimer, which lawyers love. I think there would need to be a disclaimer and a legal caveat of who, if you're the corporate attorney, hey, I'm representing the company here. I'm not. I can't. That is my duty. My duty is to protect and represent the company. I don't have a duty to prosecute your case.
Yeah. So my answer is, and we'll hear the answer to Case or No Case after this, is if you have given advice to both sides and you find out that you have a conflict of interest, under the ethical rules, you have to withdraw from representation of both.
Wow.
Both have to get new attorneys. You're forever done with that case. So that's what you have to do ethically.
You're listening to RadioLawTalk.com. And now back to your host, Frederick Penney.
Frederick Penney or Todd Cunin. Either way, I'm Todd Cunin, filling in for Fred Penney. Anybody who knows Fred listening in would go, that's not Fred. That's not Fred. Who is that? But, so, when we went to break, we had given our answers. We talked a little bit about ethics of attorneys, but we don't know, Cal, what's the answer to our Case or No Case.
Oh, yeah.
Can you give us a recap of what's going on?
Sure. A guy falls down an oil rig in Oklahoma, injures himself, goes to the company and says, what are you going to do about it? And they said, well, we'll give you a token amount, but we don't have to give you anything. Haven't you read Oklahoma law? You would be best to simply leave with the token amount that we're giving you. Have a nice day. And so they had to figure out, should I get another lawyer here? Does the law in Oklahoma allow me to sue if a person is injured working on the state's pet industry, which is oil?
Oh, no.
Which is the core question, is it not?
Yes, and you pitch it like that. And I'm thinking, here I come in. I don't even know what our scores are with where I trail Denise and
well, actually,
Fred.
you and Denise are tied. And
okay.
Right now, after neither of you got points last time, but you and Denise each have 8 points. Mr. Penney has 12 at this juncture.
So here I have a prime opportunity today to gain points, and I am, just useless as a useless.
Yeah.
See, and then strategically, Cal,
Yes.
if I just answer the same as Todd, Fred's going to come out better. No matter what.
He will maintain. Oh my God!
I will
I
maintain
can't
the lead.
believe this.
But I did go first on the first one.
He just gamed you.
Fred's strategical reach knows no bounds.
Absolutely none.
So here he gets his plant to come in, and you're doing a great job, by the way. But to come in. And now can make sure that I can't gain points on him for at least one of them. Oh, Fred.
But I'll go first next hour.
Okay, all right.
I'll go
We flop
first.
back and forth. Now, let's go back and ask the obvious questions, if we may. For those of you
Please.
who said it was a case, may I see by both of your hands, please?
All right, so
Yes.
I get 1 point.
They did go, and they did not listen to the attorney for Cimarex Energy Company and Cactus Drilling Company. They did sue them for $75,000 in negligence because they said the icy conditions by spraying steam on the pipes below made it dangerous, and they had to fail to warn. They didn't put a sign up that said, hey, there are icy steps here, watch where you're going. They didn't do that. But remember that in Oklahoma, there was a law that excludes oil companies, oil drilling companies, from this kind of a lawsuit. So the couple said, well, that doesn't seem right. First court ruled against them. Court of Appeals ruled against them. And they went to the state Supreme Court, and they sent it back to the lower courts, but with this caveat. They declared unconstitutional the portion of Oklahoma State Workers' Comp Law that exempted oil and natural gas well operators and owners because they said it was an unconstitutional special law and it shall be severed in the remainder, they said. So, plaintiff may prevail, we don't know, I'm going to presume prevail, and the law that would have blocked them from prevailing was removed from the books by the Oklahoma Supreme Court.
They really do believe in oil out there.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, they specifically had a law that said you work on a natural gas rig, oh well. Oh, wait, no, that's oil well.
Oil well. So the key question is, how many points did I get?
2 each.
2 each. All right.
I'm going to presume that the plaintiff prevails. Because it got kicked back to the courts with the law that would have blocked it being taken off the books. So,
I guess moving forward for case or no case, that we actually have come up with possibly another category of answer that would suffice in this, which is defendant wins. That's one category. Plaintiff wins is the other. And then 2 additional ones based upon this is plaintiff doesn't win or defendant doesn't win, because that doesn't necessarily mean that the other side did. In this case, it would be a defendant doesn't win.
Right.
Because they're not done with it yet. So,
but here's what's going to happen. Next time we get together for Radio Law Talk,
yes.
I'm going to take you to a case that started in Florida, went through Colorado, and ended in Nebraska. That's next time on Case or No Case, which is now concluded.
Go to the website, radiolawtalk.com. That's radiolawtalk.com.